Welcome to Expedition Networking, a special segment of the Networking RX podcast. I'm Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections and your host for this program. For those of you who are familiar, on the Networking RX podcast, we share information and have conversations with experts, such as authors, researchers, and social scientists. And all of these programs are aimed at helping you learn how to become better at building professional relationships and understanding why they work. In this Expedition Networking segment, however, we're going to bring on successful entrepreneurs and unique professionals and explore their networking adventure and learn how they used relationships to create lasting success. Today I have on the program Michelle Myrter, and that's with a T. It's not murder, but Myrter. Just to clarify, she is a mom. First and foremost, she's a mom, and she's a successful mom, but she's also a successful business owner, and she's a sales and communication coach who's never let the struggles of life stop her from going after her dreams. And she truly believes that anyone can accomplish their dreams. All they need is a burning desire to succeed, the mindset and the tools and the ability to connect with people to get there. And that's what I love about it. That's relationships at work. Her mission is to help others reach their dreams and live the life they deserve. Michelle, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm going to have you take us on a quick little journey of, well, it doesn't have to be quick, but tell us your story. How did you get to this point in time? I mean, and you certainly do a lot beyond being a mom. You have a business and you have this coaching career as well. So if you want to kind of talk about it all, that would be great.
Everything happens for a reason. Everybody goes on a certain journey. And about 5 years ago, me and all of I call them family, but we were all friends. We all worked somewhere and had some just horrible series of events happen, and everyone lost their job. And so I went on a wing and a prayer and opened a business so that there was about 6 people that would have jobs. And I felt that was my calling to do that. Again, I opened it for them. It wasn't what I would have chose to do. But I got it to the point where it was profitable and they have a home. The majority of them are still there. And it took me on other paths. I was in the corporate world my whole life, but I really didn't like to be in an office. I really didn't like to have, not be able to get out in the world and have that freedom. Never understood why, which comes on much later. But so it led me on these other directions. I ended up getting into a direct sales business because of some health issues that my son had. And I found something that really helped him. So I became very passionate about that. So that led me into taking this coaching program. And during the coaching program, I was able to increase my sales. I was able to reach more people. I found out I wasn't communicating with all of the different types of people. But what really touched me was the difference it made in my relationship with my kids and my family. And so this all happened kind of during COVID, where communication, it has been a struggle so much recently, but I was seeing people in relationships that were stuck in their house with their family and not knowing how to deal with it. And this tool really impacts having better relationships and being able to understand people. And I felt the calling to go and be able to share this with other people and help them to be able to increase their empathy, their compassion, their communication skills, and be able to reach more people and help them in all areas of their life. And that's what led me here.
Okay, well, good. Now, I mean, certainly relationships have played a role in that. If you want to talk about the business, Michelle Farms, we don't have any paid sponsors, so you can say whatever you want. Tide, whatever you want to promote, go ahead and promote. But talk about the relationships that you've used along the way, or relied upon to get these things going. Because it's a wing and a prayer, but it's more than that.
Well, and it's the way things work out, there's people who come into your life. Everybody comes into your life for a reason, and you might not know that reason at the time, but later on things happen and you're like, oh my gosh, now I know. So I actually, relationships I had built years and years before that all came into play when we needed to move equipment, when we needed to find a place, when, like, everything tied together. But what happened was, when you have your own business, you know, you work long hours, you work all the time. And I actually became an introvert, like completely shut off from people other than when I was at work. I would go home and I really did not talk to anyone other than my kids. And that really was hard for me, but I didn't realize, because as you're going through that and as you're disconnecting so much from people, you aren't really aware of the effect it's having on you. And then once you get back into the world and you start having those meaningful relationships and you start connecting with people again, it's one of the most amazing feelings in the world. And that led me to, on my journey, it led me to a small little networking group. I really didn't even know what that was. My friend had called me and said, hey, come down, we're having coffee. It's a little networking group. And I was like, that's interesting. And I went there and I ended up, it was a small group. We had a great time. And I ended up meeting someone from AmSpirit. And she brought me into AmSpirit. And as soon as I went to my first meeting, I was like, oh my gosh, I found my family. Like, it was so welcoming. Everyone was incredible. And the relationships that I've built from that point on have just flourished in so many ways. And it wasn't, I guess I was getting new customers. I was building my business, but I was also making these lifelong connections. And I was able to connect people to other people. And so it was, I'm so grateful, because it really changed my business and my life.
It's interesting. Was there a point where you said, hey, I need relationships in my life, or did it just happen and you realized that you're happier with those relationships?
It just kind of happened, and it happened in stages. So when I got involved in the direct sales business, there was a community there. And that started this snowball effect where I started to realize how much I had just drifted into I was lost.
Right. And that's interesting, because I once had a friend here in Columbus, and he had gotten divorced, and he just consciously said, the next woman in my life, I'm going to find through networking. And I don't, to me, that was really kind of an odd thing, that, oh, wow, you're consciously using this thing. And almost like it was naughty, but from my perspective now, it's like, man, that's genius. This was 20 years ago, and he's happily married and everything's great. But I think it's going to happen one way or the other, right? You're either just going to kind of serendipitously fall into it and realize, oh, wow, these connections really matter, or, hey, I'm going to intentionally kind of approach this and say, okay, I'm going to, and that's kind of where I'm at now. When things are down, it's like, I just need to connect with more people. And you start to, I guess, Michelle, if we start painting or tracing the steps, right? Obviously we've met through Jen, and Jen, you met Jen through this other person. And who did this other person, how did you connect to this other person? It's just truly very interesting to me how it's all, how things kind of have these little paths and whatnot.
And it's cool when you look back, like, you can connect the dots.
Yeah.
So you can't see it while you're on your journey, but once you look back, you're like, okay, well, it all makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always tell people, don't dismiss somebody, because you just don't really know who they know, what they're really about. Well, you're a good example, because when I was looking into you off the AmSpirit website, I see this direct sales business. It's like, okay, this is all very curious, because what you're approaching me about is something totally different. So, but it's, I guess it's hard for us not to prejudge people and situations. It's almost natural that we do that, but we need to kind of we need to kind of push away from that.
Absolutely. You don't know what somebody's been through, what their struggles are, where they're at. And you can't judge someone by what you think you know.
Yeah.
It's not always the facts.
Yeah.
It can appear very different.
Okay. You're a mom. I know your kids are older teens, young adults, really, in many respects. What advice do you give them? Networking, anything in general, or what advice would you give to yourself as you're looking to graduate high school? Something, geez, if I would have known this back then, life would be so much better or different.
I heard a quote, and it was, don't stop taking advice from people that are more messed up than you.
Okay. So are you more messed up than you were in high school is what you're saying?
No, I've come a long way since high school.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But, and I stress to my kids, just be kind. One is be kind. Don't judge people and do the right thing. If you're doing something out of love, then you're doing it for the right reasons. So think about it before you act on something, because if you're going to do it because you're angry and you're hateful, then take a step back and just stop and think about what the effects of that action is going to be. If more people reacted out of love, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And we're recording this in the height of the run up to the presidential election, and it's horrible. Well, I shouldn't say horrible, but it's, you have to tune things. Yeah, you have to tune things out. You have to tune people out. And I've had tough conversations with people. It's like, listen, I like you, but I just have to stop following you on Facebook. It's, and they're kind of taken back, like, well, it's not that bad. It's like, well, and the reality is they don't talk to me the way let's call them Twitter muscles, right? They have these Twitter muscles, like, oh, I'm big and bad, and I'm just going to say this almost anonymously in a one-on-one setting or just a personal setting, family. They're not talking like that, and it's just, I don't know, it's not good.
Yeah, it's and look at when people bully kids online. Same thing. All of a sudden, they're behind a screen and they have all this power.
Yeah.
But in face-to-face, they wouldn't do that.
No. Well, we are going to get you on and for another episode, one of our expert interviews, and really talk about bank coding and that whole program. You and I are doing an event here next week, and this is going to come out after that. But I do want to really kind of take a deep dive into bank, kind of like we will next week. So I'll get you on for another episode. But I had some fun questions. If you had a superpower, what would it be? Or maybe you have a superpower and I don't know about it.
I do have a superpower.
Okay.
Being able to understand people, being able to have compassion for them and understand where they show up and how I can help them better.
Okay. That is a superpower. That is a great superpower. What do you do to get your mind off of work? What do you do for fun?
I work out.
Okay.
I love to work out. I actually love boxing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Boxing is a lot of fun.
Okay. Mental note. Be nice to Michelle.
I love to hang out with my kids and my dogs. I'm very simple. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do things on the spur of the moment, but pretty simple.
Yeah. What word comes to mind when you're first asked to describe yourself?
Wow. That's a tough one.
You just said it. You just said it. Wow. There's the first word.
Yeah, exactly. That's
it. Yeah. When you were growing up, what did you want to be?
Wow. Well, when I was little, I was very much a tomboy. And I wanted to be a truck driver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Later changed into an art teacher.
Okay.
Because I love to draw, but yeah. But mostly I was a truck driver. I love cars, engines, fast cars. Should have been a race car driver.
Okay. Do you have the fortitude to be a race car driver? Do you like to race around and live on the edge? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you won $1 million in the lottery, how would you invest it in your business? No vacations, no paying down debts.
I would invest in me. I would invest in more learning, more training. That would be for my coaching business. There's so much more to learning about people. If it was for my Michelle Farms business, I would get some machines.
Okay.
A little packet oatmeal packer machine that fills like 1 million. It's really super cool. And a Hutamaki machine, which is an automatic can maker.
Oh, okay. See, things you don't know. I can go home. I've learned something today. All right. Last question. How many unread emails do you have in your inbox?
Oh my. You're going to be
you don't have to check.
You're going to be so disappointed in me. It was just the weekend. So there's a good 1,500.
Really?
A lot of them are junk. A lot of them I've gone through the important ones, but the unread, junk advertising ones, there's quite a few. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's interesting because I'll go through and I'll get rid of the junk, and then I'll deal with important. Yeah.
I do it the opposite way. I do the important ones and then go back through the junk.
Okay. Well, that's I'm not saying that's right or wrong. If it works for you, it works.
We set the plan.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It drives me crazy to have emails. And I have some, and I do something with all of them, but I'll keep them in there if I need to continue to do things, but that's just me. So anyhow, I do appreciate your time on the program today.
Thank you so much. It was great being here.
To wrap things up, remember, we're looking for some enterprising business types to join our team as franchisees of AmSpirit Business Connections. Our franchisees work with entrepreneurs, sales representatives, and professionals in their area to help them become more successful through networking and the exchange of quality business referrals in a structured weekly morning meeting. This is a unique franchise opportunity, you see, because these meetings are in the morning. A successful business type or professional can add this franchise opportunity onto what they're already doing. Again, all of our franchisees do something else. For a couple hours in the morning, a few mornings a week, these franchisees work the AmSpirit Business Connections model. The rest of the time, they're attorneys, accountants, realtors, coaches, and consultants of various kinds. The wonderful thing is that not only do our franchisees realize a financial gain from operating the AmSpirit Business Connections model, but the business networks that they build and develop become a great source of referrals for their primary business as well. Perhaps you know someone, perhaps you are that someone. Whatever the case, to learn more about the AmSpirit Business Connections franchise opportunity, please contact me using the email in the show notes or the one we provide at the end of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.